Successful business is all about leadership. Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, is the weekly broadcast where you'll learn from successful entrepreneurs and business owners about how to thrive, not just survive, and make more money in any environment. I'm your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO. I'm the author of Running Your Small Business Like a Pro and founder of the Small Business Pro University. My co-host, Arthur Jones, is the lead consultant at The Art of Standing Out. Together, we facilitate important conversations with high-performing guest experts who share some of their secrets to success. Leadership Live is brought to you by the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Join us every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. and remember that the more you know, the faster you grow. Welcome once again to Leadership Live at 8:05. Tonight's our topic is going to be sell more. As a business owner, I always say that your most important job as a business owner is S&M, not the one that you're thinking of, but sales and marketing. So tonight we're going to talk about sales and how you sell more, because selling is critical to being a successful business owner. And in case you didn't know, your most important job, a big piece of it, is to sell. So if you don't think you're a salesperson or you should be a salesperson, you shouldn't have a business, because that's what your key role is as a business owner. So topic tonight, sell more. We have our featured guest is Michael Hellerman, very experienced salesperson, business person. I've known him for several years. Actually worked with him on a business that he has called The Hand Stuff, where he was launching a new consumer product for men, and actually learned a lot in the process. He learned a lot in the process. But, in addition to that, having his own business, he's done sales training. He's worked for a sales training company. But the biggest experience he's had is he worked with the Jane Carter Solution products from when they were just a product made at home on the kitchen table, all the way up through growing and development to where they're a multi-million-dollar company now. They're provided throughout the U.S. and, the products are throughout the U.S. and the world. And, he was there every step of the way. So he's really had a broad experience and a lot of expertise in selling. And we look forward to talking with him more about that this evening. So before we go any further, I want to bring on my co-host, Arthur Jones, and, let him introduce Michael and go from there. Thanks, Art.
Thanks, Andrew. And it's Tuesday night, and I'm always excited because when it's Tuesday night, it's Leadership Live. And, there's one thing that I know about business. Whatever cycle you're in, whether it's marketing, sales, accounts receivable, it's all about how you become a great leader to manage those lines of business to help your business grow. And tonight is no different. We're talking to a sales person that is exemplary in the craft of selling. But like to Andrew's point that he made earlier, we're all salespeople. And there's a great book that's probably 15 years old now, written by a speechwriter. I think it was for Bill Clinton, a guy by the name of Dan Pink. He's a great author. He's got a half dozen books that are really well read. The book that I'm speaking of is the book titled To Sell is Human. And he said, in the statistics, it says 1 in 9 people in America are salespeople. But when you look under the covers, we're all selling something. We're selling an idea. We're selling a product, a service, or solution. We're always selling something. We're selling the idea to our employees that they need to do it this way, because that's the way that emotes our business culture that's important to the brand. We're all selling ideas, and tonight we're going to learn more about sales, and we're going to learn some really exciting things from Michael, who, in a conversation he and I had earlier, he sold more candy as a Cub Scout than anybody else in New Jersey, I think. And that takes us all the way back to the beginning. So Michael, come and join us. We'll talk a little bit about the Cub Scouts, and we'll talk about all the other stuff that you really had a hand in building companies that sold product at a high level to achieve great success. So Michael, welcome.
Hey everybody, nice to be here.
Fantastic. Now I had to talk about that Cub Scout story about
Yeah, I've been selling a really long time.
But it sounds like you've had a temperament for really engaging people and giving them what they wanted. I mean, when you're a kid and you're selling candy, all the other kids in the neighborhood want candy, so you had a product that everybody wanted.
Yeah, but their parents had to put the money out, right? So we had to somehow get the kids to want it and get the parents to say, okay, I'll shell out the whatever it costs to get it. So yeah, there's no doubt.
It's fantastic. You know, I always look at selling, and I'll use the Cub Scout as a metaphor. In order to get the kids to go ask their parents for whatever the cost of the candy was, you had to have a really good relationship, or at least make the kids feel like they had a good relationship with you, to go ask their parents for more money for a thing that you had to sell.
Oh, no doubt.
Is relationship selling kind of important then and now?
Yeah, but you know, it's an interesting thing, right? So because we're speaking to business owners, I think that the important thing to understand is that nobody's a born salesperson. You develop the skills to become a great salesperson. You may have the you know, some of the personality traits, but it doesn't mean that you have the skill set, right? And so it really does take refining it and getting a lot of people to say no to you before you really understand how to be successful at it. So I learned it early, but I got a lot of no's, let me tell you, a lot.
That's a really important point. And I talked to a guy just this morning, a really sophisticated and smart salesperson up in Canada, and he added something to the conversation that we're having. We talk about rejection. And I think a lot of people, when they think of selling, they think of that movie that's, you know, in black and white, The Death of a Salesman. And we either read the book in high school or we saw the movie as a kid or as an adult, and we go, oh my gosh, who wants to be a salesman if that's what salesman or salesperson life is like? Who wants to be beat down like that? And who wants to really deal with all that rejection? This guy this morning said, all right, it's really an element of perception. If you think that making an offer of the product or service that you sell and they say no is rejection, you're already beaten. If you think of it as a refusal, that's different. It's a different way of interpreting it. And it's not about you. They're just saying, right. I don't know what you've got.
You just reminded me of a really quick story. So I did a sales training course, and the end of the course, this kid comes up to me and he says, wow, now this is how he phrased this. You could probably sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves. And I never heard anything like that before. And I thought about it and I said, you know, I'm really flattered that you would say that, but why would I ever want to do that? Like, there's no woman with white gloves that would ever want to buy a ketchup popsicle, and I would never want to sell her that. So, you know, if it's not mutually successful for the two of us, then it doesn't make sense for me to ask them to buy it. You know what I mean?
And I think it's the notion that if it's about a relationship, then you treat it like a relationship, and you wouldn't go into a relationship giving a tomato popsicle to the heartthrob of your life because she's wearing white gloves. It would just be wrong. You wouldn't have a relationship after that. So if we treat the customer that we want to bring value to as a real relationship, and it's important to know that if you're a person that likes someone that you can define who your ideal prospect is, you go to sleep dreaming about, this is who I really want to be with in my life as I grow old, and this is my mate, and this is what she looks like or he looks like, and this is the kind of profession they have, and this is the lifestyle that they like and the hobbies that they have. If you can really get down to that drill down description, when you find that person, you're going to know it. Oh. And when you find that person, you're going to put all of your effort into letting them know that you care about who they are and hoping that they care back. If you don't treat the customers the same way, if you don't define who they are, then when you do approach them and give them something, if they're not the person that you defined, they're liable to say no, they don't want it. But if you know them so well, because you've thought about them so long, you'll know that what they really want is they like pink Post-it notes more than the yellow ones.
Sure.
So if you got a trunk car load of pink Post-it notes and you know who your ideal customer is, hey, I've got pink Post-it notes over here, you're going to get a crowd of people that love pink Post-it notes hanging around your trunk of your car. So I think the relationship idea, Michael, is really a great metaphor for the reality of selling. Talk more about.
One of the things you said earlier when we were chatting was, one of the 3 criteria is having integrity. And I like you, I think that integrity is everything. Your word is everything. And so I mentioned I have like 10 kind of rules for tonight, but one of them is, never lie, right? Never. And it's really about, being who you say you're going to be and delivering what you say you're going to deliver.
Yeah. That's a really great one. And that goes to integrity, right? I mean,
100%.
On the list that Andrew and I have come up with is number 1 on the list of being a leader. Leaders all have a sense of integrity, because when you show up as a leader, we want to look at you and know that you're not going to go off and make anybody in the office cry. You're not a madman or a mad woman, right? You have integrity, and we know what lane you're in, and we know how to approach you. We know when we do approach you that you're going to give it to us straight. And integrity matters so much in our personal and professional lives. What are the other 9?
Oh, really? We're already up to that? So, I thought about, when I talked to Andrew earlier in the week and he said, I'd like you to do this, or last week, I thought, okay, so as a business owner, what had me be successful? And Andrew, briefly told the story. We created hair care. My ex-wife created hair care products because she couldn't breathe. And she made those products so she can continue to work as a hairstylist in her own salon. And then, some of it was serendipitous. Customers asked if they could buy it. And then, I don't know, somebody outside the salon asked if they could buy it. And we decided, you know what? Why don't we see if we can actually sell these products? So we did start in our kitchen. And then I exploded our stove, and then we had to move it to the basement. And then we had this open flame in the basement. So we had to buy this burner. It was kind of crazy. So it's one of those really American success stories. We went to a restaurant auction, and we came home with a 40-gallon stainless steel jacketed kettle, and we had no idea how to use it, how to hook it up, and how to make shampoo. But we called our plumber, and he hooked it up to our heating system, and we flipped 2 valves, and it heated up the kettle instead of the radiators in our house, and we could get water hot enough. Well, we could get water hot enough if one of us went upstairs with a bag of ice and put it on the thermostat, because the house would get too hot, so that we could heat the water enough to make shampoo. So that's really what it took a lot of ingenuity. But I was thinking about, how was I able to grow this business and not go out of business, which is probably one of the biggest parts of being successful in business, is not going out of business. And so we had a couple of rules and they're often related to the selling rules for me. Jane was the face on the brand and the visionary, but I was the guy that went out there and knocked on doors. And let me tell you something, I knocked on doors, thousands. I saw thousands and thousands of hair salons, health food stores, before we finally were able to elevate the brand to sell to some small chains. And so that was one of the things these are some of the things that are in these 10 rules to selling. One is that you have to set goals, and you always have to keep your eye on the prize. I had daily goals, monthly goals, quarterly goals, 1-year goals, 3-year goals, 5-year goals. And I was constantly looking to see where I was in relation to my goals. Was I achieving them? Was I on track? Did I have to adjust some things? Did I have to change my energy, but I was always looking. And Jane would say to me, Michael, did we make any money today? And I'd say, no. She'd say, well, when are we going to make money? I said, I don't know. I think in a couple of months we'll start making money. And a couple months later, she'd say to me, "Are we making money?" I'm like, no. This went on for years, honest to God. But, the light was at the end of the tunnel, and we kept getting a little closer. But the light was dim at first, and then eventually it got pretty bright, right? But so setting goals is really huge. The second thing is you have to be very proactive in your business. You can't wait for business to come to you. You got to go get it. And when I tell you got to go get it, I mean that you have to always check where you are in regards to where you're going to be. Don't wait for customers to come to you. And this is something that really is like a pet peeve for me. You should always have business cards with you. I don't care where you go, who you meet, give them your card. You never know when they might call you, or they're going to say, hey, my cousin owns this business, or my uncle does this, and maybe he could do something for you. You never know. Always, always, always have a business card with you. Always. Okay, that's rule. That's not a rule. That's just part of one of the things about being proactive. Once you start establishing customers that like your brand, don't try to be something else. Try to find customers that'll like that customer at first, right? So, because it's a lot of work to try to make everybody happy. And I find that we waste a lot of time by trying to make everybody happy. So one of those things is you can't be all things to all people, is one of these 10 rules. And find the place that you do really well. Find the place where you can be effective and offer some great results for your customers and the people you want to do business with. You know, one of the great things about being self-employed is that you get to choose your customers. If you don't like the person that you know, is a potential business person that you could do business with, you don't have to do it if you don't like them, which is always a great like side bonus for us, right? So you want to find like customers. And here's another really great one. When you're doing business with somebody, ask for referrals. So I got to tell you this great story. I was training a salesperson in Philadelphia. His first name was Tony. And Tony was a car salesperson for most of his career. And so he's coming out and we're selling hair products, and literally we're knocking on new salon doors I'd never been to before. And we have great success at this one salon, and they buy products, and, you know, it was really just a great meeting. And we thank them, and we, you know, wish them a great day, and we walk out of the salon. And Tony says to me, hey, Mike, wait a second. I said, okay. And he walks back in the salon, and I follow him, and he says, hey, Mary, do you know any other salon owners or stylists that might like these products? And I thought, wow, that's brilliant. She says, oh yeah, my friend Claudia's just like 3 blocks away. I'm sure she would love them. And he says, oh great, what's the name of the salon? And she gave him the name of the salon, and he says, oh, thank you so much. And we walk out of the salon. And we get about, I don't know, 10 steps from the salon. He says, wait a minute. I said, what? He says, wait a minute. We go back in the salon, and he says, hey, Mary, do you think you could call Claudia for us and tell her that we're on our way over there? And I thought, in that moment, I thought, oh my gosh, that is the most brilliant thing I'd ever seen, right? Not only did he get a referral, he got a warm customer, a warm lead, somebody that really liked the products and was going to endorse us before we even walked in the door. It was absolutely brilliant. So if you have customers that like doing business with you and you like doing business with them, ask them, do they know anybody? Do they have any suppliers? Do they have any customers that might benefit from your products or your services? It really can go an incredibly long way.
That's amazing. I mean, I wrote down 7 things: leadership, have goals, be proactive, always have business cards, define your ideal customer, ask for referrals. And I guess that's 6. But the 2 that I circled were always have goals. I mean, if, you know, failing to plan is planning to fail. That's an old adage that we all should live by. And I think this other one about always have business cards is kind of like that Cub Scout motto: be prepared.
Yeah.
And you know, that's true for anything. You get in your car, be prepared. If you're going on a long trip, check your air pressure, you know, make sure you check the oil so you don't break down on the road, right? And I think when you're dealing with being a business owner, you're always on. You never know when the next big deal is gonna meet you. You could be pumping gas and somebody says, hey, didn't I see you at the networking event? What do you do again?
Oh,
could be the biggest, huge, no. And
one of my best sales ever was that. I saw somebody at a trade show in the hallway, and I introduced I said, I know your name, but I don't associate it with that company. She says, oh yeah, I left that company to come to this company. Well, turns out that she became the buyer for that company, and that was the vitamin shop. They had 635 stores, and she bought my products. And it was, met her in the hallway, remembered her name. It was incredible, right? Just incredible.
Prepared. Yeah. And, you know, I think defining your ideal customer, knowing who you sell to, being able to tell somebody, they say, well, what do you do? Well, I do this, and this is who I do it for. And they could say, oh, you know, that's my sister-in-law does that. Maybe I should give her a call. I'll tell her about you. But if you don't know who you serve and you can't describe that person to somebody else, you know, it's going to be hard to promote your business.
You also want to create that introduction, like that little mini commercial, right? So I did a training recently, and I asked people, what do you do? And they say, oh, I sell this product and this product and this product for this company. And I asked another person, they said the same thing. And I said, no, that wouldn't do it for me. If we were at a party having a cocktail and I said to you, what do you do? And you say, oh, I sell this, I sell calling cards and this. I'd walk away, right?
Yeah.
But I said, what if you said to them, I work with small businesses, helping them find products that will help their customers. I help them expand their market. I help them grow their business, and I help them make more money. The next thing I would say to them is, can you tell me more? So when you talk about your business, your service, get excited and get the people that you're talking to excited about it. Like, not I just do this. There is no just here. What I do is I impact people's lives. I change their happiness quotient. I, make a difference for people. That's what people want to learn about. That's what they want to know.
I think the last thing you just said is probably the important part of that is change their happiness quotient. I don't want to know what you do. I want to know how what you do changes how I do something in my business, my personal life. Tell me how I'm going to be changed. And if you simply say, I sell business cards that help you grow your business, to help you make more money. And what do we don't give me what you sell, give me what I want.
Sure. And it's funny, I was on a call this morning and somebody says, sell them what they want, but give them what they need. I thought that was brilliant.
Well, this is two sales guys talking. We were going to have the pirate ship today. We're going to take over Andrew's show and just talk sales for the whole hour. But I think I'm just the co-host, and I know Andrew's just waiting patiently over there because Andrew will talk about sales with a heavy dose of marketing because he believes what I believe, that selling today is a hybrid. It used to be marketing over here, sales over there, and never the twain will meet. Now it's a mashup. If you're a salesperson, you got to be a marketeer as well. And I think now it's a good time to let Andrew take the floor and show us how those two things join to help businesses accomplish more. So Andrew.
Okay, great. Art, thanks for turning it over. Hey, Michael, great session so far. And we look forward to chatting with you about marketing and sales. And, one of the things that I learned, and I think it makes sense is, when you start out in business, you have to sell. But the more you market, the easier it becomes to sell. And eventually, if you get good enough at marketing, you don't even have to sell because it sells itself. So, at the end of the day, how has marketing impacted sales? And is that something that you see as well?
Oh, I've been saying my whole life that marketing is everything. Marketing is everything. The reason that I eat sugar frosted flakes, sometimes, not often, but still, is because Tony the Tiger says they're great. And I won't eat any other kind of frosted flakes. I won't. So if you don't think that perception is reality and marketing is everything, then you're absolutely missing the boat. Andrew is 1,000% right. One of the things that I did when I was manufacturing products, we had our own factory and I would put aside some of the product so that I could make samples and hand out samples. And I handed out samples every single day. Andrew, you'll love this. I was driving through the Holland Tunnel one day and I'm stopped in bumper to bumper traffic. We New Jerseyans and New Yorkers know all about this. Arthur escaped it, smart. And so I said to this woman, hey, I really like your hair. I have a product, maybe you'd like it. And I tossed her this sample, right? I kid you not. I met this woman like 5 years later and she said, hey, did you throw a sample to me when you were outside the Holland Tunnel? I said, oh my God, that was definitely me. Always with marketing.
Yeah, small world, but
that's so funny.
At the end of the day, that's what marketing is about. It's about standing out, people remembering you, people picking you and deciding to go with you, just like, you go with Tony the Tiger because, you identify with them and, you're not going with anyone else because of what the brand that he's built and how it's impacted you.
I want to just say that, when you're a small business and you're building something and you don't have a big budget to market with, you really have to do some guerrilla marketing and you have to get creative and you have to cut through the clutter and you have to be different than everybody else. And it really requires, just that. You have to think differently. You have to think smarter. You have to be on your toes all the time and be resourceful. We rarely had a good marketing budget. You know, if we ever had a little extra money in the business, I spent it on promoting the business and marketing the business. But we didn't have a lot of money. We didn't get finance. We didn't have investors. We just knocked on doors and made phone calls and handed out samples and, you know, did trade shows and did everything we could to be in people's perspective and stay in their consciousness.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely as a small business, you have to be creative about how you're marketing. You have to be clear about who your target market is, because you don't have a lot of money to waste. You don't have a lot of time to waste. You don't have resources to waste. So the more effectively you can market, the better. And one thing I always tell people I'm working with is every dollar you spend is an investment. So you need to think about, what am I getting for this investment? And if you don't have a good answer, then you probably shouldn't be spending that dollar.
Oh,
And
totally right. You mentioned the hand stuff. So after the Jane Carter solution, I started a business called the Hand Stuff. And I was spending, I don't know, $1,000 a month on SEO. And I didn't have $1,000 a month when I created that business. And then I didn't have $12,000 at the end of the year when I created that business, because it didn't promote anything. You know, I didn't get a return on my investment. And I said, you know, this is foolish. I should really look to where I can get my return on investment. It's a big, you know, big factor in how you spend your marketing money, no doubt. But one other thing is that, you know, in today's economy, in today's society, using LinkedIn and using Facebook and using Instagram and using Twitter, you can do it for almost no money and get some amazing leverage and, you know, just success.
okay, no, definitely. And speaking of online, you know, given the crisis, everything is shifting online more than ever before. But there's a few things that are critical when you're shifting online. And, you know, the first thing is that content really matters. And you really need to copyright it. You need to have it clear and concise and written extremely well, because just because you get in front of people, if you don't have the right message or you're not communicating in the right way, you're not going to have a lot of success. So really honing in on your content. And the other thing is, you got to have an ask. You know, you have to have a call to action. What is your call to action? And is it something that people would find actionable? So more than ever before, you have to be able to do that. And, you know, when you're talking to people, when you're working with people, you know, how do you help them figure out, you know, what their call to action should be, you know, what their message should be, and what they should take into account when they're doing those things?
You know, it's really interesting. I asked my daughters are 31 and 26. And I asked them for help when I was marketing this online sales training course, because my customer is them. It's not me. I'm the old guy who's been doing it forever. But my customer ideally is somebody who's between 26 and 31 years old. And one of the greatest ways to find out what people are looking for is ask them. Just ask them, and they'll tell you. You'll be amazed. If you want to do some market research, ask a couple of potential customers what they're looking for, where they currently get stopped, what they're hoping to accomplish, and then you'll learn how you can market your product or your service to be attractive to them. It's invaluable.
Yeah, I mean, definitely real data and real information is key. You know, that works. You know, one thing I always talk to clients about is talk to your customers and ask them, why did you choose to hire me?
Sure.
You would find it astonishing what they might say. They might say, oh, well, you were wearing a purple shirt. I really like purple. And it could be as simple as that,
Yeah.
You know, or you look like my grandmother, or whatever. Or, you know, you know, one of my top clients, I've been working with him several years. He said, you know, I hired you because you seem like someone I could trust. And, he's hired other people who work with businesses that haven't really brought value. But because of that, he gave me an opportunity. So figuring that out is key, because then you know what your value proposition is to them. And when you know how to lead with that. So, I think you're 100% right. You got to talk to people, because you are not your target market. I'm not the one that would buy my services, because, I'm not at that stage, but I need to know why the people who have chosen to hire me decided to hire, when they have a lot of other choices out there. So
yeah, I said earlier, you want to find like customers. If there's a person that hired you because you're trustworthy and honest, you want to find other customers like that customer, right? And it'll be a lot easier for you to get in the door, have a conversation. And when you do, you can say, hey, I'm working with Charlie, and we're just having this great business, and I think, and I'm helping Charlie do this, this, and this. And I think I probably can help you with similar kinds of challenges. Can we get together? Can I come see you? Can we talk on the phone? Can we email? Can I, LinkedIn message you?
Right. No, and I talk to people about having 3 key points of their value proposition. So when you talk to someone, what's your value proposition? So, one of the things is you could trust me. Sure. So you use what people say, and it makes it a better or more effective communication strategy, because you're focusing on that, and it's already worked. It's already working. So, so that's key. Now, you talked a little bit earlier about, being at a party or being at an event and out talking to people. And, sometimes people don't effectively communicate about what they do, which may hurt them and definitely doesn't help them. And, one of the things that, I laid out in my book and just communicate with people is a 60-second commercial. And, I think you've probably talked to people about that, but what are your thoughts about that?
The elevator pitch is great. And you don't want to bore them, right? You want to get them intrigued. You want, at the end of that couple of statements you make, them to say to you, oh, that's really interesting. Can you tell me more? So, you're not trying to give them everything. You're just trying to give them enough so that they're enticed, right? And engaged and want to know more about your business and how you do it. I try to talk about the benefits all the time instead of what I do. I try to talk about how I impact my customers and what successes they have, right? There were lots of times at the beginning when I was making hair products, and I'm telling you what, it was a tough grind. It was really hard, and I wanted to give up lots of times. And I would meet somebody and they'd say, oh my God, I love those products. They have changed my life. And I would level what are you talking about? They're just hair products. And they're like, oh no, you don't understand. And it would just, wow, what a difference it would make for me. And I got to tell you, when I started talking about them, I said, I just met this woman and she tried them and she just loved them. I tell a lot of stories, as you know. You've known me a long time, Andrew. I was at another trade show and this woman comes running down the escalator and runs to my trade show booth. And she says to me, do you remember me? And I said, sorry, but no. And she said, I was at this show a year ago and you chased me down the hallway and you said to me, oh my God, I have the greatest product that you will love. You have to try this. And I gave her a sample. And a year later, she came back and told me, that changed my hair life. It was just a random person, but I was pretty enthusiastic about it. She became really enthusiastic about it, right? So when you talk about it, be excited about it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you mentioned that you want to invite people to continue the conversation. You don't want to push it on them.
Oh.
And I'm sure we used to talk about it. You don't want to be that guy at the party who's pushing sales on people.
So let me give you a tip on how to do this. And I learned this from Steve Schiffman. Steve Schiffman wrote 25 books on selling, and I was a sales trainer for him for a couple of years, right? I trained everybody. But Steve said, after you give that, deliver what you do for a living or whatever it may be, then you ask a question and engage the person that you're talking to. So after you say, this is what I do for other people and this is how I help them. And then you want to just say, hey, how do you solve those problems? Or how did you get in the business you're in? Or how long have you been doing what you're doing? And then shift the focus. The focus shouldn't be on you. The focus should be 100% on the customer and what they're trying to accomplish and what they do and how you may be able to help them.
Okay. And that's right out of the playbook of one of the authors that I recommend their book to everybody I work with. And that's Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, because it's all about relationships. And the better of a relationship builder you are, the more success that you're going to have in business and in life.
Andrew, that was the first sales training course I ever took in 1981. I took that course.
And it's still relevant.
Yes, it is. It was amazing.
He's been dead for many years, but the Institute and his principles and the way he goes about it, they're time tested and, definitely key. Mm-hmm. So I mentioned my 60-second commercial and really breaking it down into 4 segments that, really allows you to communicate what you do in a short period of time. Because, if you go talk to a business owner, you say, what do you do? You could be standing there half an hour later, and they're still talking, but nobody wants to hear that. Sure. So how do you say what you do quickly and easily to communicate the message that you need? Because, nowadays people shut you out after 5-10 seconds if they're not really interested in what you're saying. So how do you communicate it? And really this formula, it's a cookie cutter formula, allows you to set up a communication that's effective, but and gives the customer what they need. So, the first step in the process is to create the need. Mm-hmm. You're probably familiar with that. What does that mean, Michael?
Well, creating need, you really want to explore what they're currently doing and how you may be able to help them do it better, right? So it may not be a need, and I always say that you don't really need anything, right? I mean, I'm good. You hear people say all the time, no, I'm all right, I'm good, right? They don't need it, but there may be a way that they can do it better. Maybe they can save time. Maybe they could be more efficient. Maybe they can have an advantage over their competition. Maybe they could be, we don't know. And the only way you really find out is give your advice and then ask them, how are you doing it now? What do you love about it? What doesn't work so much about it? Hey, maybe I can, show you a way that I can save you time. I can save you money. I can, free up some time for you so you can do other things.
Right. Right. So, creating the need is the first step, because if you don't create the need or create the awareness, then it's hard for people to know whether what you're talking about is valuable or so before you start to sell, you have to get agreement on what the problem is, what the challenge is, what the need is. If you think about it in its simplest form, if you walk through Penn Station, usually you're walking through, you're going to your train, but you get the aroma of popcorn and you're like, oh, I need some popcorn.
Yeah, I need it.
So
I need it.
that's what creating the need is all about. So it's asking a question.
Sure.
Something for the person you're talking to trigger, hey, this is a challenge that I'm having, or not, because not everybody's needs what you offer, but it's important to identify that, so that once you identify the need, then you talk about your solution. But if you talk about your solution before you identify the need, it's really hard to connect with it and know whether what you're talking about makes sense. So it puts it into context.
One of the things I teach in one of the sessions I do in this training course is features and benefits. I can tell you about a feature, but if I don't tie it to a benefit to you, then it falls on deaf ears. Mm-hmm. So let's say I'm selling the safety of a car and I say, hey, this car has side airbags. And really what goes on in the customer's mind is, so what? But then you say to them, you know, if somebody were to run through a red light and hit your side door, or your daughter's in the car, it could save her life. All of a sudden that airbag becomes a lot more popular and more important, right? And there's a huge benefit. And now I understand why that's important. But if you just say, hey, it has side airbags, nobody cares.
Right.
So you got to tie to a benefit when you talk about your features.
And that's exactly it, creating a need so that they're more open to what you're saying.
So even if you say to somebody, you know, this is like we have the best customer service in the world, right? Somebody says, so what? Who cares? But you could say, what that means is that you will get a live operator 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So no matter where you're having a problem or when you're having a problem, you'll have a human voice to talk to you and walk you through the problem you're having. Boy, that'll give somebody peace of mind and you know, assurance, and it makes a huge difference. But to just say, you know, we have 24-hour, 7-day-a-week customer service, it doesn't mean a thing.
So, right. No, you're 100%. So, you know, we talked through the first step, create the need, tell them your solution, but that's not enough.
No, not enough.
Not enough. You also have to give an example. They have to be able to put themselves in the example's solution so that they can see how your solution would work for them. So by giving an example of how your solution works, it really helps them to even understand better and appreciate it, because, you know, as you mentioned, there's an emotional component of sales and customers, and you have to get to their emotion, and that's one way that you can do it.
There are some sales training courses that talk about creating the pain. You know, it's interesting, but it's true, but it really works. Like, I was consulting to a company that sold point of sale systems, which are like fancy cash registers, we'll call it, right? And I taught the staff to say, have you ever had a customer come into a store and you ran out of an item and they left the store and had to go somewhere else to buy it? And they'll say, yeah. And I said, well, how did that work out for you? Like, how did that make you feel? And they're like, terrible, right? And then I would teach them to say, well, one of the things that this point of sale could do is not only will it keep track of your inventory, but it will give you warnings when you get too low, so you never will run out of the product. You'll never have a customer leave your store because you ran out, right? And possibly lose a customer, which was their biggest fear. They don't want to ever lose a customer. So yeah, you want to create some emotional tie to it, and it's certainly the way to get progressed moving in the sales cycle.
Right. No, definitely. And then, you know, the final piece, and, you know, different from many sales strategies, but, you know, I think you can appreciate is you want to make a soft sale. You're not trying to sell them your product or your services on the spot. They just met you. So really you're trying to gauge whether they have interest in communicating further. Either, you know, open up with a soft sale. Would you like, you know, do you have any questions? That's a good way to find out if they're interested. But, you know, hard selling is difficult now because people have so much information. They don't want to be sold. They want to make the decision, as long as you're informing them and you're giving the opportunity to choose how they're going to move forward. Is that what you're finding as well?
Oh, no question about it. You know, it's interesting. So I consult to another company, and I've been talking to some of these sales distributors for 2 years, and 2 years later, they're ready. And so I teach about relationship selling. It's about relationship selling. It's not about transactional selling. It's not about, I got to sell this today. You're going to meet somebody today and they may not buy it for 6 months, but guess what? If you have a great conversation and a great relationship and you remind them, don't let them disappear. Remind them, hey, we met 3 months ago. You know, I was going through my phone list and I just saw you and I thought I'd call you and say, hey, how you doing? You just never know. So, you know, everybody's always a prospect. And yeah, you never want to sell to somebody on the spot. That's crazy. It rarely happens. And usually it goes south.
Right. Because people may not need what you have right now, but when they do, you want to be top of mind. And that's about being memorable. And, you know, Art always says it, KLT, that they know, like, and trust you.
Oh, God.
And,
Sure.
if you're trying to give them the hard sell, that kind of excludes you from that piece. So that's key. But let me just run back through the 60-second commercial. What you're doing is you're creating the need, you're providing your solution to their need, you're giving an example of how your solution works, and then you're giving them a soft close to figure out if they're interested in engaging further. And if not, you leave them alone, because worst comes to worst, they'll appreciate that you did that, and they'll remember you. And maybe it's not for them, but for someone in their network, it's much more likely they're going to refer you. And if you don't think this works, look at TV and look at some commercials. And we've got a lot of people on there, John and Tug, everybody, thanks for joining. But look at some commercials. Look at the Tide commercial. So, the first thing in the Tide commercial, you got your kids running out in the yard and there's mud. So, and they fall in the mud. So you need their clothes class. And then all of a sudden, Tide,
yeah, baby,
is all bright and shiny. And, so you got the solution. And then what they do is they wash it in Tide and a competitor. And surprise, 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 the Tide one looks better.
Every
and
time.
Like, isn't your family worth Tide?
Sure.
There you go.
That's Procter and Gamble, and they are the greatest marketers in the entire world. So we could learn a lot from them.
Yes. Thinking about that, you should watch commercials differently. As a business owner, look at what you can learn. So selling is you'd probably agree, as much listening as talking.
No. I think it's 90% listening and 10% talking. So Understand, to be a great salesperson, you have to ask great questions. You have to hear what they say. So I have a mantra. My sales mantra is ask, listen, learn, help. If you try to do it in any other order, you will fail. You have to ask and then ask other ways and ask some more and listen like your life depends upon it. Learn from them. And then, and only then, can you provide a solution, right? Or teach, right? Ask, listen, learn, help. Then you can only help them. But before that, they're not receptive to what you have to say.
Right.
And I got to tell you, it works every time for me, and it's been the key to my success. Hey, Andrew, I see that we're getting close to the end of the hour, and I just wanted to add a couple of really important things for your business owners that they want to key in on. When I was growing up, my dad used to say to me, Michael, if you have sales, you can sort of make the rest of the problems go away. My father was a business owner. My brother's a business owner. My ex-wife was a business owner. I was a business owner when I met her. And so one of the things you always have to do is carve out some time to promote, market, and sell your business every day or every week or every month, but you want to put it on your calendar. You want to put it on your schedule. You want to spend active time pursuing new business, because it's really easy to forget about it. And then that week goes by and you haven't grown. And if you're not growing, you're dying, right? And so just make sure that we talked about setting goals. Maybe one of the goals, the mini goals, is that I'm going to reach out to 10 new prospects this week that could potentially use my service or my products. And it is everything. It's everything.
Yeah. No, I definitely, one of the things I tell my clients is you need to spend 2 hours every day selling and marketing. Doesn't
Every
matter
day.
what business you're in, your job, your number one job.
Andrew, as you know, you've owned businesses and I've owned businesses. It's really hard. There's so many demands as being a business owner. You have to be the resource. You have to be you do everything, right? Unpack boxes, put things on shelf. Like, it's crazy. Put out fires all the time. You run out of stuff. You have to come up with a solution. But I'm going to give you another piece of advice from my father. My father would say to me, Michael, If you're spending your time on the $5 an hour work, it will prevent you from doing the $50 an hour work that only you can do. And I must tell you, every day of every working day that I've ever had, I had my father standing on my shoulder saying that to me. And so one of the things you want to learn as a business owner is spend that time. Like Andrew says, if it's 2 hours a day, maybe you need 3, maybe you need an hour and a half. I don't know what the actual time is for you, and you'll have to establish it. But if you're in the factory putting caps on bottles, you can't be out talking to new customers. And so once you're growing it enough that you can delegate some of that responsibility to someone else, and you can concentrate on working on the business, on a business, not in the business, it'll make all the difference in the world. The way that we were able to grow this $5 million business is we grew it in little tiny chunks and little tiny chunks and little tiny chunks. And then until we got to the point where we can grow it in little bigger chunks and then little bigger chunks. But trust me, as my father was talking to me all the time, with sales, you can solve the rest of the problems. And if you're working on $5 an hour work, you can't work on a $50 work. I live by those 2 rules.
That's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
You can't grow if you don't take on more valuable things.
Yep.
And many business owners and entrepreneurs get stuck because they're spending their time doing the wrong things, and they're not willing to invest in developing the team that they need to allow them to grow.
Andrew, have you recommended the book, The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber on your show ever?
That's the second. There's 3 books I recommend to business owners that I work with, and just in general. So that's actually the first one I say.
Love that book. It's an amazing book.
So if you haven't read that, you just need.
Yeah, man. It puts it in perspective, and it simplifies it enough that you really get the lessons of delegation and taking responsibility and where you spend your time in your business. It's brilliant. He's brilliant.
Yeah. So that, Dale Carnegie, number 2, and number 3. Those 2 are classics. They've been around a long time, and they're still the best. But this next one is a new classic that I fell in love with because it's called The One-Page Marketing Plan. And it's by Alan Dibb. And it totally from a small business perspective.
Right.
And most marketing books aren't from a small business perspective. And the problem with that is the key to success in marketing as a big business is usually the opposite of what you have to do as a small business. So they're actually telling you the wrong thing to do. But this one is right on point for as a small business. These are the things. They simplify it. You don't have to write a super long marketing plan. It's 1 page where you lay out what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, which is
very smart.
So, this hour disappeared super fast. Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
We'll have to have you back on. If people want more of you, you're actually we're working together to develop a course.
That's right.
Called Sell More on the Small Business Pro University. So, excited about having Michael to be able to contribute to that as well. Any final things you want to say, and also how people can connect with you if they want to reach out?
Sure. So my business email is michael@sellingsavvy, SELLINGSAVVY.com. And I also have this new sales course that should be launched in the next 2 weeks called Professional Selling. That website is professionalselling.co. Couldn't get the .com. Somebody's got it someplace. And I'm really looking forward to writing this course for Andrew and with Andrew. I think that for, small business owners, there's different, there's different subtleties and different things that you have to focus on. But as a business owner, as entrepreneurs, you always got to keep your eye on the prize. And, you always want to keep reevaluating, where am I on this journey? And do I need to adjust some things? Because it's pretty easy to get off course. And your business is going to evolve as you move forward, and you have to evolve as the business evolves, right? So always keep those goals in mind. As Stephen Covey says, put first things first, begin with the end in mind, right? and you'll get there. And it's, you know, and have fun. Oh, and the other thing, make sure you're having a good time doing it. Have fun doing this. Once it gets to be tedious, then you might want to do something else.
Right. And, you know, one thing, you know, have fun. A lot of business owners I work with are a little bit afraid of sales, but once they get into it, they love it.
Sure.
You know, because it's the most fun part of business.
It is. It's the best.
So, you know, so that's great, great point. I have posted your LinkedIn profile,
Oh, great. Thanks.
Facebook, so people can connect with you that way as well. You know, before we close out, you know, I mentioned that, you know, we have Michael working with us on a course for the university, but what I also want to do is we're officially launching the university next Thursday night, October 22nd at 7 p.m. So definitely invite you to join. We're going to have some prizes, some offers. We're going to introduce all the instructors along with their courses, and, you know, really, you know, launch this university, which is something that's not really out there for business owners. We've got more than 20 instructors that are teaching the courses, and they're all business owners, all talking about things that they have an expertise in. And we have over 100 courses and over 1,000 lessons, most of them video and audio, and it's multimedia in small chunks, so that as a small business owner, you know, it's easily to assess, it's self-serve, and, you know, I think it's going to be extremely valuable for a lot of people. And then we're going to have the open house on October 29th. And that's when we're really going to open up the university and give people an opportunity to understand better the value proposition and how it can help them, and, you know, learn how they can get involved and benefit from the university. I'm going to show a short commercial just highlighting a little bit about it, and then we'll get ready to close out.
Awesome.
Do you own your business, or does it own you? Is your business growing, and are you making enough money? Small Business Pro University, SB Pro U, is the perfect place for busy entrepreneurs. We will empower you to become a masterpreneur by learning the secrets of creating an enterprise by going from working in your business to working on your business. Attend the SB Pro U virtual open house on October 29th and become a Masterpreneur Club member. Visit sbprou.com and register now. Leadership Live at 8:05 is brought to you through the Small Business Pro University. As we close out, I want to invite Art on to give some final remarks and close us out. But thank you, Michael, as always, for joining us.
Art's got the big microphone now, huh?
Well, I had to sit down because I had to sit down because I wanted to absorb all this sales knowledge that you guys were dropping on us. It really was a great part two of Live at 8:05 here in the leadership zone. I really, you know, have no words, but I have one question for you guys. Who's Tony the Tiger? The Tiger is, but, you know, you have to be of a certain age to know Tony the Tiger. I don't think he's on TV anymore.
Oh, he's great.
You know, I think this is just another great evening of imparting the things that leaders in business need to know. And it goes along with the slogan that's on Andrew's book cover. The more you know, the faster you grow. And I think that those are words to take us out. But, you know, I'll add one more thing, because just knowing it is not enough. You've got to put the work in to get the value out. And just being a bookworm, just attending these sessions and learning all this great knowledge without putting it into practice is underserving, you know, your business. And so just remember that the more you know, the faster you grow. That's part one. Part two is you got to put the work in to get the value out. Those are my final words for the evening.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Great.
Good evening. Look forward to catching you next week. We're going to talk about the Masterpreneur Journey. It's a process and a program that I developed while working with business owners, and it really talks about the journey you have to take as a business owner from pre-startup to becoming a middle market company and getting your businesses to $20 million. And there's a certain journey and a path that you must take, a clear path, but it's not easy. But if you're going to grow your business and create the business that you always wanted, it's something you need to do. So we're going to talk about what it is, how you do it next week, and look forward to having a great chat with Art about it.
Can I get a certificate for that?
Well, at the university, you actually can.
I can frame it and put it on my wall. I want one.
There you go. I think a lot of people will.
Looking forward to that. That's going to be a great show.